So I was very judgmental this week. Oh yeah. I was very judgmental this week. It started at the beginning of it started last week and carried through it. But in my judgments, I was really sure I was right. I was so sure about it, right? So I was building this talk that I was going to come up here and give you all about how there's people that are asleep, and there's no inspiration when they're asleep, and they need to wake up, and all this stuff to just prove I was right in my asleepness. Right? Because it finally dawned on me that, oh my God, if I'm going to go on like this, I'm the one who must be asleep. I'm the one who must be asleep. Because what I notice is when I'm awake, the only thing going on for me is compassion, kindness, care, those kinds of things, right? And so if I'm not in that space, I'm asleep. If I'm upset, if I think I got to prove something, I got to, make a stand about something, then it's me that's asleep. And yet we can look out at the world and go, all these things going on, and get really, really righteous that they're wrong. They're wrong about what they're doing. So that makes me right, and that means what I'm saying must be true, and people ought to do what I'm saying. Or am I the only one who's ever felt that way? And so I started looking at that, I started walking myself through it, going, wow, man, am I off or what? Now, in the past, number one, I don't even know if I would have found that piece, but even if I did, I then would have spent the time beating myself up about how wrong I was. So I'd go from how right I was to now being about how wrong I was. Or am I the only one who's ever done that? And so there's this way in which I've got, we get to, through this teaching, get to find our way back to our center where we can start feeling awake and going, oh, it's not about being right or wrong. It's about, am I centered? Am I being awake? Am I rising to that place in myself of being compassionate, loving, kind, caring? Because if I'm not doing that, I am not awake. If you're not doing that, you are not awake. No matter how right you think you are. No matter how right I think I am. And we can rationalize right and wrong, and we can be sure that it's just so clear, the right and wrong of it all, and be so mean about it. I can be so mean about it. And so I got to see that and got to see for myself that, geez, I'm not living up to this principle I get up here and keep talking about. So I have work to do. And so I've been doing that work. And it got me to a place of recognizing how easy it is to fall into a place of right and wrong in a world that looks so topsy-turvy right now. The world is so topsy-turvy in so many different ways. I was laughing just this morning about the fact that I had been in this meeting where I had been yelled at a lot and did not defend myself, really stayed in that centered place, and then afterwards had the leader of that meeting, a minister, come to me and yell at me some more about not defending myself. I was being yelled at for not defending myself. And I thought, how topsy-turvy can it get? And so that's what we're working with here in this world as it's going on, is the ideas that people actually, that there's so much right and wrong that if you don't defend yourself, if you don't stand up, if you don't do those things that make it so that life will work the way you think it ought to, that somehow you're weak or less than. And that got me to thinking about Jesus. Christmas time might come up. And I don't talk about him very much, but this I was just thinking about his turn the other cheek, right? And I've never, and understanding that in an entirely different way, that what he's really saying is when somebody's being violent, instead of, defending, because if we defend, which is a good way to stay alive sometimes, right? To defend ourselves when there's all this going on. If we do that, we have just added to the next violent event, because what you embody manifests. What Jesus was trying to say is the only way we ever actually get to see a shift is if we are willing to be brave enough, courageous enough. Like, there's this incredible scene from the movie Gandhi, if you've ever seen that film, that actually took place, of row after row of people walking up to the police and the police hitting them over the heads with sticks and them not defending themselves at all. That they were so brave that they were willing to walk into that because they believed what they were doing, and they believed that that not defending was the only way for true peaceful transformation. And so we had that going on the planet. I think that was the 1940s, right, when that occurred. And the topsy-turviness of that, how much we've forgotten how powerful that was, that happened. That was a real event. Hundreds of people walking up, I think, in rows of 8 at a time to get hit by these sticks and not defend themselves. To show that peace actually is the way. And there's many people I've spoken to who go, well, that worked back then. That doesn't mean that will work now. And I'm here to say that actually it's the only thing. All we have is peaceful inspiration to guide us forward, or all we're doing is repeating the past. Because lots of people have defended themselves throughout history. That's gone on and on and on. And so if we're going to do anything different, there has to be this shift. And being judgmental has no place in it. And that's what I got to see for myself this week, is me being judgmental and going, what am I doing? What am I embodying? What am I adding to in life if I'm being judgmental about what somebody else is doing because I'm so sure they're so wrong in what they're doing, which means I'm so sure that I'm right. Where in fact, there's no way to know whatever's going on, where it's leading. I mean, the Zen story I've told you guys 1,000,000 times about the farmer. I'm not going to go through it again, but you know the story I'm talking about. You don't know. There's no way to know that however bad a situation looks, what it's leading towards that could be brilliant. But if you're not open to that possibility because you're so sure what's going on is wrong, how do you even get to see what that possibility is? And that's what I got to this week. I really want to see what that possibility is. I really want to see what can unfold and what can happen. What's truly possible in life, right? But to do that, I have to be brave enough to keep my arms down, not raise them in defense, and allow to unfold whatever is going to unfold, and breathe into it, and stay in that place of love and compassion. And I have to tell you, I don't find that easy, right? I'm up here and I'm talking about this, and I can tell you about my week showed me how difficult it is even after I recognize myself being judgmental, how often my thoughts went back to the judgmental person. How often I had to catch myself this week going, wait a minute, there I am doing that again. There I am thinking that way again. How do I get back to this place of, well, I know how to get back to the place of knowing, that place of conscious awareness. I just have to practice it over and over again. We just have to practice it because our minds wander. Our minds want to defend because our minds want to keep us safe. And it's not that that's wrong, good, bad, or ugly. It's simply what goes on in our heads. And it does. It takes. I'm noticing for myself the level of trust that it really takes to put my hands by my side and go, okay. I find myself for the past 3 days just saying that phrase over and over and over again. Okay. Whatever's going on, okay. And I'm really not saying it's okay, and I'm really not saying everything is beautiful in its own way. I'm simply getting to a place of, I don't know. I have no clue how this event is going to impact the future events that occur. And for me to think that I do, that's the problem. Somebody was saying last night, how many times do you think that you realize how little you know when you thought you knew? And the answer to that is incredibly clear in terms of it's not about knowing whether you're right or wrong or think you know what the situation is about. It's about, are you coming from here? Because your heart knows something beyond that your head will ever know. Your head will never catch up to what your heart can lead you towards. But that is incredibly strong work, right? It takes practice. It takes practice over and over again. There's this kid story that I love to tell. I think I told it here once, like a couple of years ago. I'm going to tell it again. It's about a butterfly. It's about a caterpillar, I'm sorry. It's a story by Trini Paulus. I'm pretty sure I got that name right. Been practicing it all morning. Trini Paulus. She wrote this story called The Hope for Flowers. And it's about a caterpillar who finds this column that went so high up into the clouds of caterpillars. And it wants to know what's up there. So it starts climbing, and it climbs, and it climbs, and it climbs. And there are other caterpillars at the top starting to fall down, and the one climbing keeps asking, "What's at the top? What's at the top?" And one of them that's falling says, "There's nothing up there but butterflies." But he doesn't know what a butterfly is, so he keeps climbing. And the story goes on, and he actually starts gaining compassion as he's doing this. And as he's climbing, he notices he's becoming a better caterpillar. It almost feels transformational because he's a better caterpillar, and he's having more success, and he's getting up there, and he's getting up there. And he does get to the top, and sure enough, there's nothing up there but butterflies flying around. And he winds up climbing all the way back down, and in the midst, he falls in love with another caterpillar. Isn't it funny how so many stories and myths throughout history, men don't make any great changes until women show them how. This would be another story that goes that way. He meets this woman caterpillar. She's the one that has the guts to get into a cocoon first. Shows up as a butterfly to teach this caterpillar that he's going about this all wrong and should climb down and become a butterfly as well, even though it takes doing something completely different than everybody else is doing to become this other higher being, which he finally does. And so I've told this story. In fact, I told it at my graduation when I graduated ministerial school. I've been telling this story a long time. But something this week hit me about it when I was rereading it, because I knew I was going to tell it this week differently. And here's what I realized about it. When I was in Asheville, North Carolina, having achieved everything I thought I wanted to achieve in life in terms of financial freedom and what I thought freedom was, and I'm standing on this bridge, breaking down, crying like crazy, realizing how miserable I still was. What occurred to me as I'm reading this story about the caterpillar and the butterfly is that if you don't have success as a caterpillar, how do you know that there's something more? How do you know? So becoming a better caterpillar, for starters, it may be the only route towards even realizing that you can only get so far in the world being the person that everybody told you ought to be. Coming up with the ideas of what actually, is success. And so then you go get that success, and it's then that you realize, wait a minute, there's still something missing. There's still something more. And it made me think more about the classes we teach here and how really what we're teaching you, spiritual practices that create joy-filled lives. In many ways, we're teaching you how to be a better caterpillar. And so I've been looking at that going, wait a minute, there's got to be a way to really support people to get to the butterfly state. And it was just this week that it dawned on me, actually, maybe that is a great first step. Because if you're feeling like a loser in life and things are not working out, how can you even know what's possible until you have some success? That may be a great first step. And so a lot of what we do here is teach you how to do that, have great success in the world that your ego mind, that your caterpillar self wants you to have. And that once you have that, that's when you start getting those yearnings for, wait a minute, there's something more. There's something larger than this. This can't be all there is. This can't be all there is to life. How many of you have had that feeling? This can't be all there is to life, right? Yeah. And that's when it becomes the time to go into that cocoon. That's where the advanced classes that we teach here start really paying off, because now we're teaching you how to go into that cocoon, to let go of what you think was going to give you the feelings you thought you were going to have that you're actually not having, that you're still yearning. And so when I start, and the interesting part for me, right, as being the spiritual leader here, is that I still get caught up in the other thing. It's easy. It's so easy. The mind and the drama and everything can catch you so quickly. So I'm there in the morning and I'm meditating. And I'm like, wow, this is what life really feels like. This is what's possible. And sometimes I get to go out and actually do stuff. And it feels like, wow, this is what's possible. And then something happens and I'm like, wait a minute, this needs to be handled and I need to do this. And I'm right and they're wrong and this needs to go like this. And then I got to catch myself going, what happened to that person who knew that it's more than all this, who could keep his hands at his side and be brave enough in the face of that, because knowing that that's where the true satisfaction of life is, and that I don't know that that's a big enough word. The mystical part of life, the wonder, the awe. You don't get to experience that if you're in the drama of it, in the space of, you know what's best. There's no awe there. But there is awe when we can sit back and go, oh, yes, I can be this brave. I can put my hands down. I can say, this is going to unfold in a way that I have no idea. And I'm going to allow it. I'm going to see. I'm going to be that presence, compassion, love, kindness, care, be of service. When I'm feeling in that space, it doesn't even matter to me what's going on. When I'm in that space, whatever it is, and I'm being with it in that space, life feels awestruck. It feels wonder. That's what's possible, is getting to that place of wonder in the midst of whatever's going on. But you don't get there if your hands are here instead of here. And that's really hard when somebody else is throwing punches. So that's the job for getting beyond what it is in this physical world. And maybe you're up for that, and maybe there's other steps you need to take first. That's why we have so many classes here. That's what leads us. That's why we are developing this school of consciousness here to allow anyone who wants to walk and step by step to a place of experiencing that wonder, that awe. Because once you've had that experience, you know you just want more of that. You know that, oh, I was that person. I showed up as that butterfly. I showed up as that compassion. I showed up as that light. That is the place that feels like life has meaning, true, deep meaning. And I know that for each and every one of you. Thank you. I love you.